Current international framework is unsustainable. Now, when I put that slide together, that was actually a couple of weeks ago. I've adapted these slides since, but the international framework has evolved very rapidly in the last few years. We've gone from a situation in, say, 2010 to 2012, where the war on drugs was not particularly openly questioned at the international level. That there was this orthodoxy of it's about more of the same, it's about more repression, it's about states doing, effectively living up to their obligations, and if everyone would live up to their obligations, that would be sufficient, and eventually states would overcome this problem. That what became apparent after around 2011 and 2012 was that governments openly began to say this has been a failure. This has been a failure based on its own goals. If you look at what's been happening to drug prices over the last 3-4 decades, they have been going down, right? So this is an indicator of, quote, success of the policy. Are the prices going up or down? They're going down, which means that drugs are more available. So based on what the criteria of what we are doing right now, it is failing based on its own goals. And really at the UN and at the international level, we began to see that narrative very clearly come out in the 2012 era. What then we also start to see is the issue of irrationalities. So that pursuing this idea of a war on drugs creates an awful lot of bizarre incentives within police, within government agencies, within political elites themselves, to do very strange and irrational things, but in pursuit of sounding like they're executing this war on drugs. You know, the idea of a tough war on drugs is that you target the kingpins, you target the top levels of the market. What you saw in the United States when they pursued that was actually they just started locking up lots and lots of very poor people, very poor minority communities in the United States ended up in jail. Because they created all of these incentive structures around arrest rates and zero tolerance and things like that. So they made no impact on the upper levels of the markets, but ended up with just mass incarceration. And this is across, as I said, across the board, this policy. And then it's the case of the costs. This idea of fighting a war on drugs is extremely expensive. There's the direct costs associated with policing, with things like that, but then of course the indirect costs. And I think in the case of the Philippines, we can assume that there's a significant economic cost from instability, from lost human capital, from the decades that it's going to take some communities, frankly, to recover from this. When you go in and execute lots of people within certain communities, you disrupt the social fabric of those communities, you disrupt the social capital. What they discovered in the United States was that incarceration was so widespread in certain minority communities, particularly black communities, that there were no men left affected, and that so the people who became engaged in the drugs trade became younger and younger until effectively teenagers were the ones who were actually running the drugs trade in certain areas because all the men had been incarcerated. But what you then see is the emergence of the HIV epidemic, and that changes everything, the AIDS epidemic. Because you could no longer treat drug users in societies like in Europe and the United States as this criminal margin of society that did not need to be accounted for, that did not need to be explained for. You know, the narrative up to then was these groups are effectively innately criminal. Innately, the language was, they were insane, they had all of this kind of mental illness language was used to associate them. So society could very quickly dismiss them as a fringe. When you see the outbreak of the AIDS crisis, what becomes apparent is that injecting drug use is a key vector for transmitting AIDS. You could not imagine a more effective mechanism for transmitting AIDS is that sharing injecting equipment. This idea of a drug-free world, we're going to do it. I'm going to do it. I, as whether it's President of the United States or wherever it is, I'm going to free society of drugs. This is not new. What President Duterte is saying has been claimed many, many times over the last century. The thing is, every single time it has failed, and the last UN special session was a clear example of that. And the UN will not make such a statement again because they've been so embarrassed by that one. So when the most recent strategic session met last year, it was around this idea of moving towards a world without drug abuse, but it was in the sense of a drug-free world, we can do it. Come on, all states need to just pull together in this direction. It's a sense of this is a complex problem. There are many, many, many ways to deal with it. There are many models around the world for how to deal with it, whether it's Switzerland that effectively gives heroin to certain long-term consumers, or recognizing that somewhere like China it will be far more repressive in the model. Regardless, he will lose that battle. That is out of the bag. States have, the sixth largest economy in the world, California, has voted to legalize marijuana. You don't turn the clock back on that. And I think he may set the national legalization back by 5 or 10 years. So we were initially, even conservative estimates were saying within 10 years, the United States nationally will have a legalized marijuana framework. We may be looking at 15 to 20 now. But in the meantime, lots more states are going to legalize marijuana. Every single Democrat in a state that legalized marijuana is going to want a marijuana legalization ballot on their state, because that brings out the youth vote. That brings out people who traditionally vote their way. So there's all of these incentives in favor of it. It is a complex issue, and it's certainly anyone who says that there's a simple answer to this, whether it's repression, as President Duterte argues, or whether it's simply just legalize everything and that will make all the problems go away, both of those arguments are false. This is a very complex issue. This is an issue that requires broad social management, like a lot of issues. You cannot simply just find one way around this. You need to have a broad societal response to it. You need to have an integrated response to it. And these are some of the directions that we think policy should be going. Which is effectively, if you look down to the third one, it is this idea of shifting to asymmetric and targeting enforcement and drug traffic organizations. So this idea that you're not going to eradicate the market, that is not a realistic goal, especially in an area with low governance capacity. But you can shape the market, like we just said. You can make the market more violent through untargeted interventions, through blanket interventions, or you can make the market less violent. And one of the ways to make the market less violent is by setting the parameters of how it can operate, which is that those actors which are the most violent, the most problematic, the most corrosive, those are the ones that attract state attention. So it's not saying that you don't target these groups and that you don't try to instill the rule of law. You do need to do those things, but you do it particularly against those groups which are the most problematic in the interim. And what that will effectively do is set a dampening mechanism through the market, where it's seen as violence, corruption, things like that, are what attracts state attention, not necessarily quietly executing the trade. And that's, if we think about, again, this idea of harms, the broader harms of the market would be likely reduced in this way. Now, what we've instead got is the government of the Philippines is going in and massively increasing the homicide rate in the market, and that may be something that's more problematic to bring down in the medium term. That is not a harm reduction approach to this issue. That is actually probably a harm maximization approach to this issue. And so that's the idea that you want to be thinking about, that you apply this idea of harm reduction not just to consumption, like we've said, which was very effective around preventing the spread of HIV and AIDS. You apply the idea of harm reduction to all parts of the market, whether it's the supply or whether it's the middle parts of the market. We knew spraying coca didn't work. We knew it was extremely expensive. Probably, one of the estimates was it cost $100,000 to spray enough to remove $5,000 of value from the markets. The cost-benefit analysis didn't add up. And then you think of all the long-term implications for these communities. And yet we continue to do it. And yet the government there, supported by the United States, continue to do it. And this highlights the kind of, well, we don't have an answer, so let's just do something. We can't solve the problems in the Philippines around corruption and governance and security and things like that. So let's just go in and have a war on certain communities. That's going to at least be perceived to be doing something. And if you could click to the next slide. And this is when I met with some of the communities there, and the sense for them was there is no state interaction with them. They did not have any sense of coherent government development policies or anything like that. And so if we actually start to think this is a development issue, we're starting from a zero baseline, that there hasn't been an ability to think about drug policy as a development issue previously. We thought of it as a law enforcement, we thought of it as something that had to be eradicated, and now we actually are having to think about this, okay, what does a coherent development policy on drugs look like? And what I've shown now is a case on rural environments. And these communities, extremely removed from the central government, have no real interaction except with the military, which they perceive as an invading force. But if we also now think of development within urban communities, that's exactly what we're going to have to start thinking about as well. And I think what President Duterte is doing is not in any way can be perceived as a development approach to drugs. Of course not. It's an extreme form of repression that is not really following development, that is effectively anti-development. But when we get beyond that, and someday we will, hopefully sooner rather than later, then we need to start thinking about what does a development approach to drugs look like in urban environments.